Alright, so I've been getting asked what kind of fertilizers am I using on my tanks, and this is basically what I use right here. I use the Flourish nitrogen. Not much of that, just so you know. I use CO2 booster because I'm not injecting CO2, so I use this periodically. I use the Flourish. Everybody knows what Flourish is. That's probably the best stuff on earth. And then I add a little extra iron to it, not much, but every once a month maybe on the iron. And then of course I add this right here, which is potassium sulfate, and this is basically a powder. And I'm adding about a half a teaspoon per 75 gallons once a week roughly. And as far as the API, you should be adding it every other day. I just do it once a week. All of these are pretty much once a week, and I do them all at the same time on it, like every Sunday, or sometimes I miss something like that. But in general, these are the ones I use. I also do use phosphorus. I do add the phosphorus. I'm just out of phosphorus right now at the moment. As far as elements, instead of like the micronutrients that you need, it's in the soil. I've already added the rock dust into the soil below. So that's pretty much taking care of any of the nutrients. You don't want to add too much more than what I'm doing, too often than what I'm saying, because then you really start to throw off the GH and the KH, which then starts throwing off the pH, and you start having problems. So one of the reasons why I have been successful with this is that I dose basically once a week, not always, only in the winter. During the summer I don't dose at all. And I give the plants a chance to absorb and convert everything over. If you don't do that, then these salts will definitely build up in your tank and you're going to have problems. Alright, so not too much with this. You could probably get away with that, 3 times a week, the CO2 booster. Flourish maybe twice a week. I wouldn't do too much. You really don't need it. Same thing with the potassium sulfate. If your leaves on the crypts are starting to get a little holes in them, or they're looking a little light in color, you could probably throw an extra dose of that in there, but never dose powdered ferts directly into your tank. I put them into my sump and I let them slowly leach out of the sump into the water eventually. So you don't need to dump it directly in the tank. Some people say you could do that. I don't recommend it. And this is the only dry fert that I'm dosing the tank with. The other question was lighting. What kind of lighting am I using? Lighting is just basically these T12s. They're just the Home Depot fixtures you pick up for 10 bucks. And then I buy the bulbs, and basically, as you can see here, I got, I believe these are cool white. What are these? Well, that's what it is. That's what the bulbs are. I'm not sure if they're cool or warm. They're F40CX65 ECO. I believe those are cool white. And this one colored bulb here is just an extra aquarium bulb I had for your aquarium grow lights. Again, that bulb has got to be like 7-8 years old, maybe older, because I've had that bulb in my other lighting fixtures before I started doing all this in 2010 or whatnot like that, 2008. Yeah, these got to get cleaned. I haven't cleaned them up. But that, again, that's what these are. They're just basic T12 bulbs. And then I have these two, which were from smaller fish tanks, those little 10 gallons. So I took the light fixture off that, and they basically just got, regular bulbs like this. I don't know what size these are, but that's just there to throw in a little extra light on them. What's the time on those? I'm really not sure. Tell you the truth, that's the timer right there. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's between 6 and 8 hours. I could always put it in the comments, because you could see that I'm gonna have to crawl all the way down there, unplug it, count the hours. So yeah, there's somewhere in between there, 6 to 8. You don't want to go too much longer than say 8 even, because any longer than that and you start to throw that balance back off, and you're going to start getting the algae. And even now, I think at 8 hours now, you can still see a little bit of diatoms on the leaves, a little bit of browning. If you look on the tubes in the back, you see the black type of algae. Very little of it survives, but it's on there. It gets on there. And, you know, some of the older leaves on the Rotella, you can see, you know, it's got some of that rusty stuff on there, and that's pretty much the same kind of algae. That's that diatoms. But that's really about it. You do get a little bit of green algae, like right here, that blue-green algae. Very little. It'll just grow on one thing, and that's it. But usually when I clean the tank, like now, I got to get in here, and, you know, maybe this week I'll do it. Or maybe on the weekend I'm going to get in here and I am going to do some trimming in here, because you can see they're starting to grow. But I will remove anything that has the blue-green algae on it and just get it out of the tank altogether. I can see a few stems in there that have it. But in general, not too much really, nothing on the glass. It's just little spots here and there. But if you do leave it, it can grow and get out of control. So you do want to remove that from the tank. You know, there's really no other way to get it out except to cut the stem and get rid of it. And it only really attaches itself to the Rotellas, and I usually cut all these Rotellas out. So for me, that's kind of, you know, it's a good thing that it's doing that, because it's easy for me to clean. But generally, it doesn't really get on the other stuff, and that's really about it. I mean, I don't really have too much more algae issues. I mean, you can see there's some holes in some of the leaves. I think if you look around as I scan, you can see like a couple pinholes on the Anubias. I am giving them potassium, so it could be the sucker, this guy right there. He might be doing it. But yeah, don't overdo it with the dosing. That's my recommendation. Just be patient. Find that balance of light for you. This particular balance with the amount of light I got coming in here and the way I dose it and me not doing water changes and things like that seem to be work good in my particular case. I take away too much from it or add any more to it, it seems like it starts to go out of balance. Water conditions start to go out of control, and then we're back at square one again. So just, you know, once you find that sweet spot, just kind of stay with it. But you got to find that on your own with the way you dose and everything like that. I would suggest, if you don't want to buy these ferts, you can buy all the dry dose and do it yourself. But that, once you start getting into nitrogen, you know, you got to be careful, because it's very easy to throw it off. I just use a tiny little bit of that. As far as the CO2 booster, you can inject your own CO2 fresh if you want. This seems to work pretty good. Flourish, you really can't beat Flourish. That's really all you need, to tell you the truth. Yeah, that has the iron and everything in it. And you could add a little extra dose of iron here and there. That's fine. Alright, so I hope I answered your questions as far as the lighting and the ferts go. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment below if you have any questions. And I will see you on the next one.